environmental side of things and all the rest of it. But I sort of get a feeling like the Taliban come into mind. You know, I mean, the Taliban, how they sort of act and so forth. If it was left to them, we'd be all like in.
Well, I don't think you can compare these. I don't think, Billy, you can compare these protesters to the Taliban.
Well, no, I'm comparing them to.
Here's another question, Alan.
What I'm comparing them to is they're trying to basically put their philosophies on everybody with regards to it. You can't fly a plane. You can't turn your TV on. You can't do this. You can't do that. You know, I mean, what society are we? What society are we in? I mean, at the end.
Okay, let him reply to you.
So I didn't catch the end of the question there because I'm finding it a bit difficult to hear you.
Well, as am I. But he's basically saying that you're imposing your views on everyone else.
I mean, you know, it's not us that are saying it. The climate is saying it, and the peer-reviewed science is saying it. And all we're campaigning for is that we do what the peer-reviewed science asks of us, so that we don't have our luxuries today at the expense of the essentials of life for people tomorrow.
How are you not getting to this protest?
How are we getting to it?
Yeah.
I came by train.
Jimmy in Wimbledon. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello.
Go on, mate.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw a few months ago a program on Channel 4 which said that human activity had very little to do with climate change. That if you look through history, the Earth has had ice ages, it's had warm periods. And basically, there's that lines in Paul Simon's song, The Boxer, a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. And that's what I think the environmentalists are doing.
I don't think, Brenda Boardman, you would agree with that, would you?
Well, hang on just a second, let me finish. It shows that by the fact that you have this programme tonight, and yet as far as I know, not only on this show, but the BBC have never invited anyone who was on that Channel 4 show who said that it's down basically to solar activity.
Well, sure, Jimmy, you're on, stating the case.
Yes, but I mean,
you're very welcome to do so.
I'm talking about someone who was on that show who's an expert to contradict a lot of what they say.
Brenda Boardman, you've looked at this extensively. Has Jimmy got a point?
The climate hoax program on Channel 4 has largely misrepresented the science.
Oh, I see. In other words, what you see is a misrepresentation.
Let's let her finish, Jimmy.
Let me just say my bit, and then we can have a better debate. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which represents many thousands of scientists, has said unequivocally now that climate change is happening and that it is caused by human actions.
I don't argue with you that climate change is happening. That I don't argue with. But they produced a lot of facts that you a few minutes ago you went on about history. Well, let's look through history. Have there been ice ages in the past? Yes. Has there been climate warming in the past? Yes. Before man ever was into the industrial age or anything like that. Now, I'm a logician. My degree's in philosophy, but I'm a logician. And as I see it, there's mankind might have a very little effect on climate change, but it's very little.
Regrettably, that's not what the evidence is showing us, Jimmy. At the moment, the evidence is showing us, and most of the science shows that the uncertainty is diminishing, and that therefore, because the evidence of climate change is getting worse almost by the minute. And as I said earlier, you know, for instance, linking with the hurricanes and other extreme events shows that the climate is changing, and the major reason is the way you and I are using fossil fuels, the coal, the oil and the gas, which are only created because carbon was taken out of the atmosphere and buried underground. And if we're now releasing that. It's a very simple piece of logic. That's what's causing the climate change.
On the protest tomorrow, lots of your texts coming in to 85058. Kevin in Cardiff says, I want to know how many of the protesters are claiming job seekers allowance, and if those that are will have their benefits cut as they're not actively seeking work. Stephen Bexley says, hi Stephen, the people in Darfur must wonder how airports got to the top of the protest agenda. Robbie says, you see airport protesters, I see rich kids that take. David says, how dare these environmental fanatics put at risk the operations of an airport or the freedom of its travellers. The police should drag these nutters away by their dirty, unwashed hair. Do you want to respond to that, Alan Gill?
So which one are we? Are we all sort of poor people on job seekers allowance, or are we all rich kids? I'm confused by that. There seems to be an absolute contradiction in that.
How dare you put at risk the operations of an airport or the freedom of its travellers, says David.
Okay, well, I think there's a freedom for other people to have the right to life, and it's very clear. When 150,000 people are going to die this year from the effects of climate change, when the science shows that we're doing that to them, we should behave as if they are human, because they are, and if we can not do it because it's a luxury we can live without, then we should do that.
Now, how are 150,000 people going to die this year?
That's a United Nations report figure, which is somewhat conservative, even by their own admission. There's various facts. Some things like, for example, in East Africa, rainfall patterns have been moving because the sea temperature rises, which means the people in Ethiopia are finding their land is drying up and are being literally starved off their land. In Bangladesh, sea level rises are meaning that floods that used to happen every kind of 20, 30 years are happening every year or two. And again, farmland's ruined. So these are Bangladesh and Ethiopia. These are bywords for global poverty. They're bearing the brunt now. Plus diseases are moving. Malaria is back in Italy now. We're going to wait till it gets here.
Lots of statistics being bandied about tonight. I'm so glad we have you with us, Dr. Brenda Boardman. Is that accurate? 150,000 people are going to die this year because of climate change?
I'm not able to tell you, Stephen. That's not my area of speciality. But you were asking me earlier about what people thought about this, and I don't know that the people that you've had responding so far, especially in some of your messages, are actually representative of the population in Britain, because I think there is a general recognition that something like 80% of people in Britain are now aware that climate change is a problem, and they're worried or very worried about it.
So what we're saying to you this Saturday night is very, very simple. On the back of this text that's just come in, how dare these environmental fanatics put at risk the operations of an airport or the freedom of its travellers? You've heard the response to that. What do you make? Do you think they've got the right to protest? 0500 909 693. Mark's in Stoke-on-Trent. Hello, Mark.
Hi, very good evening, Stephen. Yeah, I think they've got the right to protest. Somebody mentioned earlier cows, and that's another cause. Livestock production accounts for fully 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions. That's another big factor. But in terms of air travel, it is very destructive. I think one return journey to Canada is often noticed. This is equivalent to 1 year of a family travelling in a car. And I think on Ethical Man on BBC Two Newsnight, they did an excellent programme where, he tried to become more ethical and reduce his emissions. And just the one plane journey, as far as I remember, it took something like 1/3 to roughly half of his total emissions. So it's a massive thing there. Air travel, we don't need to fly. We can use the train, we can use the boat. We've got so many options.
Mark, thank you for your call tonight. Brenda, nice to talk to you. Alan, no doubt we'll be doing this on 5 Live on the phone-in tomorrow night again. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Alan Gill is a spokesman for the Camp for Climate Change protest, and I know we'll be talking about this tomorrow again. Maybe we'll continue talking about it later on in the show. 0500 909 693. If you've been watching the... let's come back to the eco-activists who are camping out at Heathrow. This is going to be the big story tomorrow. It's already the big story today. The police have been out in force at the Camp for Climate Change protest. Up to 2,000 of these activists have been gathering for what they're calling a day of direct action tomorrow. The impact on the environment from the airlines, are they going to be able to disrupt things enough to get you to think? If you haven't been thinking before, do you support the protesters? Let's check out Steve in Leeds in this. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Well, do you support them?
Everybody's got a right to protest, I must admit. But anybody who gets on the air side of an airport has got to remember that there's damn police around there. And anybody that gets over that fence onto that side of the airport deserves to get shot.
Well, we don't want anybody shot tomorrow now,
I don't want
Steve.
anybody shot, but you know as well as I do, Stephen, that in that protest they have got a very good point saying, "Oh, climate change." All this, I personally don't believe it, but there's a lot of people that do.
The organisers are saying that they want it to be a peaceful